for joining us for this month's Blueprints for Business, sponsored by Forwardly. It's the week before Thanksgiving, which we were kind of chatting a little bit beforehand that hopefully people are going to get a little bit extra time off next week, spend with the important ones around your life. So that should be exciting. Richard, how are you doing today and what are your plans?
Well, actually, it's funny that you ask. I honestly don't know what my plans are yet. I was planning on having a very low-key Thanksgiving because my husband is in Texas, and I got the call 2 days ago that he's coming home on Sunday. So the only thing planned so far is Cyndi Lauper concert on Sunday, and then if I can find a turkey, maybe cooking a turkey. Otherwise, going out for food.
And how about you, Jane? So Thanksgiving is different in Canada. We already passed it. Is that right?
It was
Yeah.
last month.
I had my Thanksgiving a month ago, so I'm just
Okay.
taking the long weekend. Like, I'm taking the time off, but you know what? I'll just be doing absolutely nothing, and I am stoked.
Hey, Jane, Canadian Thanksgiving, are there any, do you have turkey then, or is it special different foods?
Yeah, no,
then?
it's pretty much the same thing. It's very similar. It's just it's a harvest festival instead of, being about kind of what more the theme of American Thanksgiving. It's like very harvesty. So
Lots
yeah.
of Canadian ham everywhere.
No. I think some people eat ham for Thanksgiving, but
I don't know.
no. Canadian ham is for breakfast.
Yeah, that you got to
Yeah.
know when your ham is for.
Yeah, Canadian bacon is like that's a bacon. That's a breakfast, lunch, brunch, late night snack, breakfast for dinner.
So actually, James was saying in the comments, I guess Cyndi just had a concert there in San Diego, right? And was all over the stage having a great time with it.
Yep.
So speaking of holidays, Jane, you actually have an upcoming event, which is going to be pretty cool. It's Tech the Halls, right? Do you want to share a little bit about what that's going to be coming up?
Yeah. So exactly. So we have basically I brought together about 10 different companies, and it's actually more than that now, to all come forward. We're going to be doing like 3 to 5 minute demos, presentations kind of thing, no PowerPoints. I'm being really strict about it. And then we're going to be doing prizes from every single like company that is part of it. And it's just going to be a lot of fun. So I definitely recommend attending. We're going to be in costume. Allison Ball and I are hosting, and it's on December 11th. So if you haven't registered yet, check it out. It's linked on the Forwardly site. And also I'm posting about it on Twitter and LinkedIn and all that. So, it's in the comments.
Yeah, it's in the comments, and I will actually go and put it into the live streams here in just a minute for people that are watching there, so you'll be able to go and register for it. We did something very similar to this back in February on Valentine's Day, and it was a really, really big hit. The idea of getting through, being able to check out different apps in a very short amount of time is nice. You can have it 1 hour and get through a whole bunch of different ones. So that's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell us on some of the companies that are demoing?
Yes. So we have a lot of companies. Obviously, Forwardly is going to be demoing. We have apps like Levy. Finoptimal is going to be showing off a few of their apps. We have Amalgam showing up. We have CPA Pilot. Somebody from Roundtable is going to be doing a presentation. So it's not only just apps. We also have Alicia Katz-Pollitt coming from RoyalWise, or someone from our organization coming. We have Seth David coming, Uncat, and then somebody from Clarity HQ as well. So there's like lots of different things happening. It's not just going to be a one-stop pony show. Like it's all sorts of different stuff going on. And I will also mention as well, we are also looking to start on another app speed dating for Valentine's Day. So keep your eyes peeled for that, because I already have a bunch of people confirmed for that one as well. So more fun. That's the hope.
So it sounds like it'd be a lot of fun. So I do have a question that I'd like to ask everybody that's here and in the chat. If for this event being here, this is all about notifications and how you deal with client communication.
Actually, Matthew, I'm going to interrupt you, and I'm going to tell you why. Because it's somebody's birthday today, and we need to call that out a little bit. Whose birthday might it be on the call?
My twin sisters.
It is your twin sister's birthday.
Yeah.
So let's wish Matthew's twin sister. What's her name again?
Morgan.
Morgan. Let's wish Morgan a happy birthday, everybody.
Yes.
Happy birthday, Morgan.
And
Thank you very much.
also
Happy birthday, Morgan.
Yeah.
Morgan, for
And yes, my mom dressed us up as M&Ms as kids for Halloween. So thank you.
Okay, that is hysterical.
Yeah.
Were you, what color M&M were you? I have to know. Were you?
Gray.
He doesn't know.
Maybe
He was-
dark gray,
oh, that's
light
right. He
gray.
was the gray M&M, of course.
It's a
Oh,
great M&M. That was a good
It
one.
was stale. So thank you though. It's, it's a good day. I'm going to go out to dinner with a friend this evening. And what's fun or strange is every 7 years, it actually falls on Thanksgiving, but this is one of the weird years where it's further out. And the day I was born happened to be my parents' anniversary as well. So when that happens, it's like a very fun day with everything all combined. So thank you. Appreciate it.
absolutely. Happy birthday, Matthew.
So the question I was about to ask and would love to hear from you guys, like put a 1 in the chat. If you, for this meeting, did you silence all your different types of notifications? And if you didn't, put a 2 in the chat. Because this is all about the bleeps, the blurps, and the chirps. It's like we have to be super sensitive when we're doing it to make sure we have everything shut off.
Matthew, I'm going to tell you, I have no sounds on any computer except for the back and forth on Zoom. Every other sound is muted. Always.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I try to always do that, but so the next one is, what is your preferred method of communication when you're dealing with clients? Put that into the chat as well. And for those watching live, we're getting you can do the same thing. I'll read it back out. We're getting a whole bunch of 2s. So everybody's saying, nope, they still have other notifications going on, which is why a lot of people are probably muted here. But we're getting on the other part of it. We've got Slack, we've got email, text me first. James, I like you. Licio, email. So email is the big winner, I would say. So anybody want to talk about how you set up your clients to actually communicate with you the way you want them to? Who's got a system that's working well for them? Because I'm bad at this.
I think the reason nobody is answering because you said that's working well for them. So
That's good. Okay, good point.
let's change that to who's got a system. And Linda, I know you have a system. What's your
Yeah, we actually do. So we start them out in Licio from the very, very beginning because we have to exchange a lot of documents. And then if they go to email, which they do, I copy the email and put it into Licio and respond in Licio. And then if they do it again, we remind them that we're not going to answer in the email, that you have to go back to Licio. We have some in Slack too, though. So we kind of use a combination. Depends on the client and how much, if we need to bucket the conversations in certain clients, we do. But we try to keep them in Licio only because of the sensitivity of the documents and the transactions that we do. We try to stay compliant with the FTC stuff,
That's a good point. The FTC side of it, right, is okay. The ones always seem to work, 1 or 2s. Do you still have clients that are sending you sensitive information through email, even though you've told them a bazillion times they shouldn't do it? Put a 1 in the chat if that's still happening for you. Yeah.
You're going to get all 1s on that one.
I know. And I know we've got some Financial Sense users in here also. Does bringing your clients into Financial Sense, is that helping to eliminate some of the communication and the chirps coming all over the place, would you say? I forgot who was using that specific one. So I think it was Beth. So
yeah, they don't, nobody emails me anymore. They're all sending me messages through Financial Sense.
okay. Richard, you were gonna say something?
I think the way you worded the question was very important. I don't think the apps themselves actually silence the bleeps, blurps, and chirps. It is something that we have to actively participate in. Like I said earlier, I'm right now, I'm in the middle of setting up a new computer. And every time I install a new app on that fresh slate computer, I go into notifications and turn sound off. Don't want to hear any sounds other than the sound of me talking with somebody else. So I think it's something that you actively have to pursue on your computer. So I think one of my favorite tells that is being in a meeting and hearing, the brush of Slack, the ding of text messages, all of that. You can always tell when people are being hyper intense about notifications. They either want them all or they don't want any. Looks like we've got a crew here that really likes their notification or their sounds.
Well, so I'm going to call out Linda on one little thing because I know she'll be okay with this. When we were doing the whole circuit of the different conferences and such, you have your Apple Watch, right? And the
Yeah.
notifications that were on there all the time. Who you guys? Does other people you guys have Apple Watch or something related? Do you guys enjoy having it? I've always been afraid to have it because just the constant like buzzing and reminding of every single notification kind of thing. And I kept noticing that it was buzzing and buzzing. I'm like, you need to turn that thing off. And finally kind of helped her figure out how to turn some of the different app settings off of it. And you said you think it's better now. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it shut off my notifications of my staff was what was going off constantly. And it's not just stuff for me. We have a channel that is everybody. And it was, especially at night, everybody's on the West Coast and it's after 7 or 8 o'clock at night. And it was constant. So now that it's shut off, I don't look at it anymore. If somebody wants to say something, they have to wait till tomorrow morning, East Coast time, for me to answer it back. And I was literally like, we'd be having a conversation and I'd be like looking at my watch. It's like, I'm going to take that off your hand. I'm going to stop the notifications because it was just too distracting.
I'd like to dig into something that you just said there, Linda. People are responding in real time. I feel no obligation to have an immediate response. And I've watched people for years be Pavlovian about email notifications. Well, I've got to respond very quickly. Well, why?
That's the texting, really. If you're answering an email that quick, I know that I learned that actually I was doing that all the time. And you trained the client now to expect that. And now I've got Tiara, my assistant, and she's very proud of me. She handles my messages now. I was never staying out of it because I had it going across the banner. So I was watching every email and handling it and annoyed by it. And now she's taking it over. And I only look at it at 11 a.m. my time and like 3 or 4. And that's it. I don't look at it anymore. And she puts it all in a draft for me if I have to respond. If it's something important, she messages me in the channel. So I don't have to do it anymore, which is nice.
I'm down to one time a day for
That's good.
looking and seeing what needs to be replied to, and then one time a day doing the actual replies. And I find that I'm down to about 15
That's
minutes
good.
and an unmanageable inbox where there's hundreds upon maybe even thousands in my inbox, but 90% of it is junk. And I just don't want to take the time.
Actually, everybody should send Matthew an email right now because his box is down to 0.
Thank you so much, Linda.
Oh.
Appreciate that one.
I sent a test to see if he really was telling the truth, and he answered. I'm like, oh, you really are reading your email.
Those who know me know I've always said, and I still stand by, I hate email, but I've actively spent the last week getting all the touch points of everything, and my emails cleared out, back down to 0. And I'm on day 8 of checking and clearing out my email every single day. It starts just a couple days at a time, but I had up to like 5,000 emails, and over 3,700 was just complete junk.
You handed me your phone and you go, are you going to have a heart attack right now? I'm like, oh my God, there's this, I don't know how many thousands of emails are on there. I'm like, and the text that you have.
I do the same thing. You know what I do every January 1, part of my little ritual is I mark out all holidays. I mark out every fifth Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And I zero out my inbox, but I don't do it the way most people think. I move everything into a folder called 2024. Boom, done. And I start fresh, and we'll see where we end up at the end of the year.
I couldn't do that.
I know.
I don't think I could do that.
I have just, for me, it was, I basically gave up. It's impossible to manage. Currently, I looked this morning so that I would have the data for today's show. In a 24-hour period between yesterday and this morning when I woke up, there were 611 new emails.
Ooh.
I'm not going to spend half my day going through that when I have business to conduct. I will skim for important people. I will put those in a respond to later tonight, but I simply will not sit there and file or delete and go through 600. If it takes 1 minute per,
Yeah.
I've lost how much? I've lost 10 hours. Yeah, that's not feasible.
So who else here, do you guys also set up certain times like booked out on your calendar to specifically address your different interactions? Jane is super on it quick. Like you post something and before you finish typing, she's already responded to you. Usually it seems like, but
Terminally online.
yeah,
Just terminally online. That's the problem.
what's everybody else doing? Rich, what are you up to? How do you do it?
I wanted to mention, it was many years ago, they talked about that they were going to start charging everybody a penny an email. Let me tell you, if they could do that now, I would gladly pay just to send out the number of emails I send out compared to the junk I received. That would be the most wonderful thing. It wouldn't be expensive for me, but we certainly would get rid of the junk email.
I actually kind of like that idea. Like, as long as I don't have to do the counting on it, I'm not opposed to that. Tori, you were saying that, you like the structure, but you tend to rebel against it as well. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, I like the idea of blocking out time, but then I look at my calendar and I'm like, you're not the boss of me. I don't want to do that right now. And so you'll occasionally see me posting on Twitter or get a direct message from me saying, I need supervision. Somebody needs to turn off my internet or make me do this project. And so if I'm accountable to somebody besides myself, I do much better.
That's a good way to go about it. Yeah, I mean, it's one of the nice things sometimes of having a partner and assistant is somebody that's going to help get those things and push it forward for you. And, as your business is growing, you need somebody that's going to keep you out of the weeds a bit more.
I challenge that notion though.
Yeah.
We're paying somebody to manage the bullshit that other people are sending to us in many ways. John Markey just raised his hand.
So speaking of scheduling time of like when you're going to respond, I'm an Apple user and I utilize the daily summary feature. So like so I have a summary that pops up on my phone at 8 a.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. And most of my notifications, only the most critical can get through in real time. Otherwise, when that summary pops up, I see everything that I've missed over the last like 4 or 5 hours. And I don't have to block it on my calendar, but I'm also not getting binged or pinged, whatever, on my phone constantly all day.
I don't think PCs have that, do they? Does anybody know? Does Outlook have something like that?
I don't think they do.
There's probably an app.
I would imagine that there is. For Apple users, it also works on your phone. There's a lot more iPhone users than there are Mac users, including you, Matthew. And the summary feature is actually pretty darn valuable. John, have you noticed though, sometimes the summaries get jumbled up and it says, it starts with like the topic of one email and then blends into the next one, and you have that momentary panic. I've had that a few times since they introduced that. I don't know.
Oh, you're talking about the AI thing where it like
No.
mine, it's just like it's kind of like a thing and I tap it and then it expands and it's like a couple pages long and it includes everything from CNN and all of that.
So I am, and thank you for making that distinction. I forgot. Apple Intelligence is here, and Apple Intelligence is in version 1, and so in the summaries, it's not quite mature yet, guys. It really isn't. It jumbles up messages, and one big summary. So it's sometimes ridiculous and sometimes the most hysterical thing you've ever read. So I love the summary idea. I do. And I think it will get better on the Apple Intelligence summaries very soon. So
James added a question in the comments, which I'd love to get other people's feedback on as well, which is, how quick does everybody respond back to something where you receive a lead from the Find a Pro advisor? And I'm sure part of that is, are you getting quality leads, right? I think Rich is feeling maybe part of that, but are you receiving leads from there, and how quick do you respond to them? Anybody?
I trash mine. They're all the people that's the actor or there's a new one out there. They're all junk.
yeah,
don't know.
I'm seeing the same trend. There's bots that are going on to Find a Pro advisor and sending to damn near everybody. It's
Mhm.
It's crazy. So why don't we reframe the question? How fast do you respond to leads? Somebody sends a lead into your inbox. How fast do you respond to that?
That's a great question.
Fast.
Yeah, if it's a referral from someone I know and trust, like, because I do a lot of networking within a group called Provisors. If I get a lead from someone in my Provisors group, I want to respond within 12 hours or 24, depending on when the lead comes in. But yeah, I try to turn it around same day if I can, at least just to say, hey, I'd love to meet you, here's some dates.
So when Matthew and I were talking about this, how many of you said, and I was going through some of my annoyances with inboxes, and mine are probably amplified over many people because I've given up. But how many of you respond with the polite emails? The thanks, got it.
Oh,
Same.
I hate
Thank
that.
you.
I hate
that-
thank you back. I don't like even thank you, or don't waste my email box with that. No, that's a bad thing.
It's a
And I
blood
shouldn't have said that
pressure.
out loud, I can tell.
But clients
No.
are reassured by it. My clients love it if I respond and
Ah.
say, got it, thanks, because otherwise and they know that it takes me 3 or 4 days sometimes to respond, but they're like, did she get it? Did she not get it? And they get really nervous. And so I try to just at least say, okay, got it. And they like that, but I hate it personally.
I prefer to wait until, because if I'm receiving something, it usually means there's an action item involved, right? So my response I would prefer to be, this has got this done, here's been completed, XYZ supporting information, instead of just a thanks. So I can hopefully close the lid on it instead of getting more and more emails back and forth.
That's the other reason that I stopped responding immediately is now I'm into a real-time conversation.
Yeah.
I just find the notion of disjointed conversations over many days, it just kill my soul. I often have to go back to the original, figure out what we're talking about, because we all have these disjointed conversations on a constant basis. I'll also throw something out there that I think Linda will probably recognize immediately. We have to stop saying, well, as I said in my previous email, it's annoying, it's passive aggressive, and guess what? Who can be expected to remember 86,000 pieces of information that should have a straight line thread that don't?
Twitter users, X users.
No, Twitter's in a straight line. We know
Okay.
exactly what's going on there. But yeah, it just it makes me cringe. It really does.
So we were talking about leads before, I would like to ask who's set up a funnel for their leads, and what are you using to, if somebody goes to your website to contact you, do you have some kind of a special process set up to do that?
Kind of. Have always wanted to set up an onboarding sheet where I send someone to a place to fill in some of that preemptive questioning kind of things. we haven't quite gotten there yet, but I do have an admin who specifically does all of that. So she has a list of questions that she asks verbally over the phone. Then we assess whether or not it's a client fit. And if it is, then, and in that process, it's like she can either immediately say no if she thinks it's not a good fit, or if she's not sure, then she'll say she'll discuss it with the partners, me and another person. And then, we discuss it, and if it goes, then she'll set up an appointment, and then I charge for that hour or whatever.
That's smart. How, I'd love to hear if anybody else has a setup as well, but first, what percentage do you think end up not being a good fit, if you don't mind sharing that?
It's probably 50-50 because I have pretty good referral sources and they know what I want and what I don't want. So it's usually more a hit than not a hit, but I have had a lot of losers this year. So
yeah,
no offense to the losers, but just they weren't part of my ideal client.
Linda, I know that you're the one that got me started on 17 Hats many, many, many years ago, which is kind of still what I've been using. And I've always enjoyed it because you can do the different user forms on your website, different ones on different pages, and it can kick off workflows that can automatically send back an email with attachments and tagging and this and that and do your contracts. But you've also played with quite a few different programs as your business has evolved. What are some of the ones that you like for whatever reasons, and what's been helpful?
We were using 17 Hats, but now we've kind of graduated to get everything in Ignition. So that's where the quote will come from. But if somebody fills out our form on our website as a set of questions, so we know, and we charge them to even talk to us initially. So that clears out any tire kickers that, they got to pay $175 just to talk to us for, 30 minutes just to see if they'd be a fit. If somebody squawks at that, then they probably wouldn't be able to continue. And then if they do want the appointment tier, sets up the appointment, we have the appointment, then we charge for the file review, which is important to get that money, which I was terrible at before. So, and we charge quite a bit for that. And one of the things I think I loved about 17 Hats, and I actually do this now with Ignition, is we do a video. So instead of doing the file, I used to years ago, I do the file review and go through the file and write it all up. Half the time they don't know what you're talking about, but if you go in and do the file review and just do a video of it on their file, show them real high level, like, look, I think I got a guy just because I told him, I just took him into the undeposited funds and said, your books are reconciled for this other person that's doing them. And you've got all this stuff from January, February, March sitting in the undeposited fund account. That one little statement was what drove him to come to us. So the videos are really highly effective. And now I just take them and transcribe them to summarize it and put that in the body of the letter that goes with with the file review, with the video and the quote. And that part of that process goes through, and we don't get everyone. I don't want it. If I'm getting everyone, my pricing's not right. I want to get about 50% of them. But I think it's important what Jennifer said about the right client, because you don't want to take every single one. I don't want the solo law firms anymore. The work is too much hand-holding, and you don't get as paid as much as you do with the bigger firms. So I don't really want the little ones. But sometimes they come through referrals, and then, it's somebody that knew somebody. What do you do there? Because you don't want to say you're not a good fit, or should you say you're not a good fit? That you probably should.
I think you should be transparent. I mean, let's be honest, if you get referred to a gastroenterologist and you really needed a foot doctor, wouldn't the gastroenterologist say, I think we need to refer you over to this person over here. Let me connect you.
Yeah, for me, it's a matter of going back to my referral source and just re-educating them, things have changed. This is what I'm looking for now.
We do have it on our form now, because I think we added that recently. Like, this is the revenue kind of we're looking for, but we also have the law lab. So we'll say, if you want someone that can handle it, we have people that we can refer you to that works primarily with solo firms and love it. So we have that other back door to not give up on somebody and say, we have people that we know that do the same work that we do that are working with smaller firms. So at least I'm not giving them nothing. I just always feel like, especially when it comes from somebody like you really know, and they're so excited to give it to you. And I'm like, oh, should we talk to them? Should we not? And we shouldn't.
I love that. And I still encourage people, even if they give me the wrong, because I can always push them to the right place. I'm
Yeah.
still doing, and the reason that they may be sending it to me is because they know that I'm the wrong person, but can send them to the right place.
But doesn't that feel good when you send them off too? It feels good to do that, to hand them off to somebody. It feels really good. Like if I get someone that's got a lot of inventory, if I say, hey, you should go talk to Rachel because she does this, or, I mean, that's the kind of, it feels good to do that. Because it's nice to get them from other people, but it's also nice to hand them off. And then you're putting somebody you're helping the person on the other end too, because they need that specialist that does that kind of work.
Absolutely. And so many folks will refer to me and say, Richard is my go-to for all things in the accounting space. And part of that is they know that if I am not the right person, I'm gonna push them to the right person. I love what Jen wrote in the chat. I'm gonna read it real quick. Linda Artisani, never feel bad. Just have a coffee with them and let them know. They want to send you the right people. That makes them feel good too.
Yeah, that's true. I never thought to even do that, to go back to the source and just say, hey, just so you know, because they just hear lawyer and they go, "Ooh, here you go."
Right, but what you've done is exactly what you're supposed to do. When they hear lawyer, who do they think of?
Right. Yeah.
So why go through and go, yeah, lawyers, but they have to have this revenue. They have to specialize in this. Don't make them have to learn everything. Just lawyer, send to Linda. And
then I can defer them up to,
and then exactly, you can push them out to the right person. And now you've done something great. They'll remember you. And they may refer somebody back down that chain.
Yeah.
So I agree with what James was just saying. The idea that one of the most important things you really want to do is help explain to people what a qualified lead looks like to you.
Yeah.
You don't have to go super hyper crazy specific, but you do want to get pretty detailed, like give them more specifics so they understand. Especially, and I'm sure you all have done this as well. If you ever have our clients that have been grandfathered in, we should be telling all of them, happy to get your leads, but your pricing is special. So don't share that part of it is one thought. So
I like what Tori said, beware of taking referrals from crappy clients. Yeah. How do you handle that? Because that happens in real life.
I'm going to say my own experience there is my best referral came from my worst client. So I don't have that same barrier. Then Tori's like, nope, not happening. Not happening.
You need to fire that client though, Tori. I have a couple that I've been talking about and I'm like, they need to go. Sarah, they need to go. There's a couple we have out there that, it always falls down to, it's not that they fit every demographic of what we need, but they don't give us the data at all. And they ignore us. And then when they finally give it to us, it's time to give it to the tax person. And they're like, where's my stuff? That's the ones I want to just go, bye-bye, just go. I can't anymore.
I've rehomed most of them, fortunately.
I love that
I think I might have one left, but yeah, I'm done with those.
I like that rehome instead of fire. It sounds better.
I graduate.
Yeah.
Speaking of year end, there's a lot of activities that require interaction and communication. What are some of the challenges you usually face to get the year closed out and getting stuff from clients? Like, what are the hard parts for y'all?
Getting stuff from clients.
Yeah. So, I mean, so 1099s is coming up, right? That's always, cringy, just the word itself it requires not only interacting with just the client, but even pushing further usually to connect further out to their people to get the right documentation and be able to figure it out in a timely manner. How many people here are doing payroll as well? I know, Tori, you do payroll, right? So getting W-2s and such going. Rich.
And what do you get on January 2nd? Where's my W-2?
Oh, yeah.
When are my books going to be done?
They rush it and then then it sits there for a long time. So
And then it sits there because it never gets processed by the tax person. I know. Well, the client never gives it over. They want it, and then they don't even send it over to the tax person. I know.
yeah. Another area that's always challenging for me nowadays, it seems like phone calls. How many people pick up the phone for the business when it's calling?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Because I don't know about for you guys, everything seems like it's mainly spam again, which is kind of frustrating, right? Because if you want to call somebody yourself to try to connect, it's difficult. I wish there was a better way to get rid of the robocalls. Anybody have any tips for that? How to clear that up?
So I re-download RoboShield. I think that's what it's called. It's a T-Mobile app that they have on their website, and it doesn't automatically, at least in my experience, it doesn't automatically update the engine of which are spam calls and which are not. You have to train it, but after about every 3 months, I re-download it, and the signatures on which are actual calls and which are robocalls are actually pretty darn good, but it gets bad again about once every 90 days. So it takes about 2 minutes out of my life to re-download it. But I gotta say, yesterday I probably had 22 calls, and every one of them, between 8 and 5, every one of them were just a garbage call. It's very much like email. So I tend to have my phone on permanent mute during the day. Don't look at it. If there's an actual voicemail that gets left, I actually have that transcribed to text.
Mhm.
So I don't listen to voicemails. I haven't listened to voicemails in probably 10 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. The transcriptions are pretty good these days, I would say.
Jane, do they have better systems in Canada for this at all? I mean, you probably you have to get calls from both Canada and US, so you've got it twice as bad, right?
There is no good system for this in Canada. No, there is like we have like 3 major phone carriers, and I think one of them has the solution for it, but it's not mine. So I suffer. Yeah, some days I'll get like 15 robocalls and I just don't answer anything. But my work phone doesn't get too many. So
Okay.
yeah, but my personal phone is on permanent silent. I only take it off of silent when I'm outright expecting a call from somebody like a doctor or whatever.
I had the most interesting conversation with an old friend of mine of about 20 years last night. And he was saying, why didn't you text before you called? I said, because we wouldn't have gotten, we were already like 30 minutes into catching up and talking about life philosophies and solving all the problems of the world. I was like, because we wouldn't have gotten into an interesting conversation. And I miss that. I miss just picking up the phone and talking to people. There are very few people that I will do it with, but I have no problem calling anybody anymore. I really don't. I don't feel the need to text and call my shot.
Yeah. So Jane, you had a interesting question. Does anybody else send voice memos?
And I gotta say, Matthew responds with freaking videos, and I'll be in an appointment and won't be able to watch it. And he'll be like, what did you think? And I'm like, I didn't think anything, because you killed my mojo by sending a video in the middle of a text string.
Yeah, but I guess I'm just not good at typing. Something changed on the iPhone where you're supposed to do the swiping to text now.
Yeah.
And I can't spell anything correct, and it changes things all the time, and I'm just like, forget this. So I'm just doing the videos instead.
Turn
And
off
just-
predictive text. It's the predictive text. Every time they have an update, I have to go in and turn off predictive text for that same reason. And now I
It's
can
never
type
done.
again.
Yeah. And for those who are watching live, in the comments, it's basically Matthew in the damn videos. Yes, I'm guilty of it. It's a lot easier. So
Do
you
it
gotta
back
just
to
use
him. That's what you have to do. You have to do
That's
it
what
back
he
to him.
wants. That's what he wants.
No.
Even Tanya's picking on me. Yeah, Jesus. Okay.
Yeah, Tanya.
I'm going to say you need picked on. This is one where we kind of need to have an intervention on it.
Got it. Okay. Nice. Okay. Well, I'm working on which one's more important, working on the email thing or the video text? You guys can pick one of them.
Oh, less video text. You deal with your own email. Yeah.
You just have to know how to get even with them.
Yes. Yeah. So Jen, you were saying, so you have friends, you have some friends who text with and others that you send voice. Yeah. Sometimes, even on Facebook messengers, usually my preferred place for connecting with things. And you can record a quick voice memo and send it over, but that's just as bad as a video then, because you can't listen to it right at the moment. But
I'll tell you the best place that I've seen to send video messages, and Matthew, you may want to switch to this.
Okay.
So I got a voice memo this morning from a client in Brazil. It was uploaded into Slack. Slack transcribed the whole thing. So I didn't
Oh,
listen
so you
to
could
it.
read it.
What's that?
You could read it.
I could read it, and it was 100%. I had no issues at all. So it was kind of amazing, and it was the first time I've seen that. So memo uploaded into Slack gets transcribed.
Smart. Then again, I could just talk to the microphone and have it typed for me, which would just probably be a happy medium for
I do that almost every single time.
Just read it before you hit send, because sometimes if you have an accent, it doesn't come out right. So I've seen some things come out like, oh, I didn't mean to say that.
And a few words, every time I say want to, it puts in wanna, and that's a pet peeve. I don't want to use that word. Yeah, that drives me crazy, kind of crazy.
Well, and the challenge is whenever I type a text, then I get people that come back at me like, you're wrong, and did you mean this?
Not me, I don't do that.
So got it. Okay.
I just learned, I was told, and it was Rachel Douchy who told me, putting a period at the end of a text or a question mark, the kids are making fun of us and calling us boomers for that. That's like offensive. Does anybody else know about this thing? No, that's just a thing that Rachel said. Okay, she's punking me, I think.
No. Tanya
Maybe we're
says
just
no.
not there yet, Richard, or we're young souls and we haven't,
Is that what it is? Okay. Yeah. Because I'm getting called a boomer by her kid. She also said side parts were a problem.
And ankle socks or something.
And
There's
ankle
another
socks.
thing.
Yes. What is that all about?
I just heard jean jackets are out and I am still recovering
What?
from that. I know. I'm not going to let it happen. Okay. I'm
Right?
Canadian. The Canadian tuxedo
It's
is
beautiful
very
for you.
important to me.
Did you say
I just
Canadian
learned about the
tuxedo?
whole alpaca
Canadian
haircut.
tuxedo. How do you, Matthew, I'm going to send you so many links. You just
Canadian tuxedo is a jean. Okay, that's pretty amazing. It's got to go with a mullet though, right? For sure.
I heard the side part one too. I don't get the side part. Is it supposed to only be a center part or no part? What is it? What's the deal with that?
I think when you couple it with the whole alpaca thing, yeah, there's no part in that.
So Marriott's watching live and she was saying that she's been a boomer for a while, because with her teenage kids, and that's another interesting
update
thing.
you.
Are you starting to see, we've all been doing this for a while, are you seeing this shift in how clients want to communicate change over the years? And what have you seen? What's been the change?
You want me to I'm going to throw in my 2 cents if
Go for it.
Nobody else wants to go first. Under 40 are much more in tune with apps and other technology tools, and they will do anything to stay out of email themselves. So when I say part of my onboarding process is getting you into Slack, I actually do that in the prospecting process. They're like, oh yes, thank you. They're happy. Over 45 to 50, I get a little pushback. I will say about one out of every 3 is pushing back, I do drag him into it still. It doesn't mean I make the exception there. Matthew, you were somebody that was like Slack. And now you and I communicate in Slack. Tori, same thing. It takes it takes ignoring an email or something marked important somewhere. And suddenly it's a magical system. But yeah, I find it very generational.
My problem with Slack is every single device I want to use it on, I have to re-register every Slack channel I want to be in. So if I'm added into Slack on my computer, it won't be on my phone automatic. But if I was in Teams, no problem. I add things on, I can flip back and forth, go through everything easily.
Yeah.
But the challenge there is getting outside people to join in and be able to share stuff is a lot harder there. So
I'm going to fix this Slack thing for you. This is a user issue.
okay. And so Jane, you like Discord?
I like Discord a lot. Good,
Yeah.
Jane.
Okay.
Discord's good and it's free, which is nice.
Yeah. I mean, so Seth was playing with Discord for a while, but I think he kind of stepped away from it, Seth David.
That's
Yeah.
because he has
Very
such a
may
big
not.
group, though. He'd have to train everybody and switch them over. I think that's why it never happened.
It's identical to Slack. It really is. It's
Discord has a lot more than Slack in a lot of different ways. It's more made
Mhm.
for like online communities, I'd say, rather than like the direct messaging. Slack has a lot more of a focus on the direct messaging aspect of it.
Plus, he has to pay for it. I mean, he's such a big group. He must be paying for it to keep the messages there. And I think, I don't know, Discord, like you said, is free. It's a gamers. Started as a
it's a
gamer.
gamers
place, right?
platform.
It did.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it started actually as a build out from a streaming platform, like as a
Mm.
place to chat about gaming, but it works really well for online communities.
It does. It does.
What's the weirdest place any of your clients like to try to connect you with through? Like I used to have one person I worked with that was still on Skype and it just drove me nuts. Exactly. Anybody else have something crazy like that?
Not anymore.
Okay. Okay. BlackBerry. Okay. That's
Wait, what? No. Is that a thing?
oh, good old Blackberries. I forgot about those. Nicely done. Nicely done. Tori, I agree. Channels should auto-populate on your phone. Workspaces do not.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
think he was talking about workspaces.
Yeah.
Because
Even Ernest was saying like, what the heck was Slack too? So yes, I agree. Okay. Well, Richard, I'm going to hold you to that and you can help me figure out that part as I do this transition and move over to Slack. So,
wait, what?
well, the other thing I like to use Slack for is
say
if
that
I
one
ever have a
more
video, if I ever have a video that's too big, you can load it to Slack. It will compress it and still have it look nice. And it's a fast, easy way to transfer it over to a phone. So I can then go and like when I'm doing my videos to promote these things, the way you post, if it's going through a phone versus a computer is totally different. And it's one of the fastest ways I know to like transfer files back and forth.
I'm just going to say that Apple users have no idea what you're talking about because we have that kind of built in, Matthew. Just saying, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Just putting it out there. We don't have that problem.
Yep. All the cool kids are on Slack. Tanya, what are you doing off the video? Jeez.
And she stays off camera. See
I
that?
know.
I know. What's up with that?
Ken, good to see you as well. Okay. Ken, you're on Teams and PC, right?
What's that? Teams. Oh yes, I'm on PC. And
Okay.
Not an Apple or Mac, if that's what we're talking about.
So, what is, again, staying on the communication aspect, what are you guys primarily using? It sounds like a lot of people are Slack. What else?
I was reluctantly dragged into WhatsApp for Bridging the Gap group, and then Abby Camp used it, and I actually am really liking it.
Yeah, WhatsApp. So I don't like WhatsApp.
Oh, you don't.
I don't like it at all. It's It seems like every time I've gone onto there, because it's connected to your mobile device, that's where I start getting a whole bunch of spam text messages, everything else. Messages like, hey, it's great. I haven't seen you in forever. What you been up to? And it's some random number. So I try to stay away from that as much as I can. Anybody
So
else have different?
I'm seeing a trend on a couple of my clients that are adopting Zoom as a means of
Oh
communication.
yeah, that's a good point.
Oh, we use
They're-
that internally.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I'm fascinated by that. I really am.
I've been using Zoom clips for my video per day videos, and I actually really like it, except for I always run out like 2 seconds before I want to be done. So my last word gets cut off. But
I'm actually talking about text messaging in Zoom and channel creation.
Yeah, because you can make channels. We have different channels for everything.
Exactly. And the new Gmail, or not new, I turn it off almost instantaneously. But whatever, I think it's called renamed Meet. Over on the sidebar, a lot of people I'm seeing are doing internal channels across their team with that, even though it's designed for external communications as well. In fact,
We
John,
use,
don't
yeah,
you
we
do that,
use the
John
chat.
Mark? Sorry?
Yeah, we use Google Chat, equivalent to like how everyone else uses Slack. And I just like it because everything I do is in Google. It's so integrated. It's awesome.
Agreed. That's what we do as well.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever used Google Chat.
It's yeah, I have used it, but I really did not like it at all. So
Okay.
I'm impressed with the people that are using integrated tools with it, because I'm all in on Google. I'm a Google fanboy all the way.
Is anybody using Zoom phone currently? So
We are using it in our firm.
how is it
That-
quality wise, messaging?
I don't have one, but the team does, and I think it works fine. They're using it for calling clients. I just didn't want the team calling clients on their own phones and then they get their cell phone. We just tried to eliminate that. So Sarah and I invested in the Zoom phones, and I think everybody seems to like them. You know,
Good.
Interesting. Yeah.
I always
Ernest
have
was saying in
trouble
the
with
comments-
text going back and forth to Zoom phones. I have no idea what it is, but whether it's Zoom or what is, oh, never mind. That was a private message. I'm like, what is happening in my private messages? Okay, yeah. So Linda, you're the only one using Zoom.
yeah,
Zoom.
we are actually using it because a client was using it and loved it, and that's when we decided to implement it because we knew we needed to move to something, and they loved it. It's pretty affordable, and I don't really have firsthand experience with it because I don't have one, but I know that with the staff, they seem to really like it.
We use Ring Central, and we had tried to go to another one at the beginning of the year, and it was a disaster. It was a major disaster. We ended up going back into Ring Central, and we like that because you can have it on your phone. It can have a different ringtone on your phone. So if personal calls come in on your regular ringtone, you can have a different one for the Ring Central, and you can answer it on either your computer or on your phone anytime.
Yeah. I've been using dial pad now for like 7 years. Jane, you're saying that you've been using Ring Central. Tanya is using Grasshopper. We started with Grasshopper a long time ago. A dial pad has worked just phenomenal for me, and the ability to add on extra lines that are just a number of people can call for a small amount, like $7 a month. And then it also integrates to Slack and to where I can have the text messages for security tokens pushed over to our global team. Richard, you use clerk.chat for that, but Dialpad's it's been great to me. Good audio to it. It works great on on your mobile device, computer, like you're saying. The one thing I haven't found from any of the VoIP systems yet is they don't have any way through like CarPlay or Android when you're setting it up that you can actually use and call directly from that app on it. So in other words, if you have my dial pads for my business, my cell phone's for private, give out the dial pad number. If I want to call back to a client through dial pad, I actually still have to open up the dial pad app on the mobile device and call through that. And if you're trying to be hands-free and not actually futzing with your phone if you're driving, it won't do it that way. What's up, Richard? What do you?
I use Google Voice with Apple Intelligence, and I just say call and it does, and it goes through Google Voice if I want it to. So there are, and Apple Intelligence is brand new. So previous to that, it would not work.
Okay.
But you're right. It's problematic to try to call hands-free if you have to open the app.
Yeah. It'd be a little, I guess I just would love to see the ability to select which phone book at some point in the future.
Yeah.
So to be safe. So, well, we're getting very close to the last couple moments here. And I wanted to real quickly remind for those who maybe joined a little bit later, Jane is next month. Jane, you've got a really, really cool event coming up, Tech the Halls. It's going to be, what is it? 10 different people participating where it's quick demos. I'll put the link again into.
It was just put in by Jane. She beat you to it.
Perfect. There we go. So definitely want to check that out. I also, as always, want to say thank you to Fordley for helping to sponsor these different conversations. You know, I enjoy doing this every single month. We've got another event coming up next month. We'll be talking about CPE. We will have Blake Oliver on with us, which is going to be pretty awesome. And, you know, any last words at the moment? Richard?
Not a thing. I think we have talked it out in terms of bleeps, blurps, and chirps today. It was a good session, and I hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving. And for the Canadians, what is the holiday called for Canadians this month?
Boxing Day.
There's no holiday for this. We already had our holiday.
Oh, got it.
I thought
Okay.
it was closer before, like it was only a week apart.
Last year it was a month apart. I think this year it was 5 weeks apart.
Yeah, last year Canadian Thanksgiving was, I think, more in the middle of October or something. And yeah, it's ours changes same as US Thanksgiving. So
yep.
But
excellent.
Yeah, no holiday for us next weekend. Just work.
Well, just work. Okay. All right, everybody.
On that note, everybody have a wonderful holiday week next week. And here's wishing you all a very successful week. Thanks for your time.
Birthday.